Welcome, dear friend, to another cozy journey into the realm of myth. Tonight, we dim the lights and settle in for a tale from the Norse traditions, a story of two powerful tribes of gods, the Aesir and the Vanir. Before they found their fragile peace, a great war raged between them. Imagine the sky ablaze, the earth trembling as these ancient powers clashed. It's a story of conflict and compromise, a foundational myth that shapes their world. Now, let's drift into the echoes of their ancient war. But just before we begin, if our stories help you drift off, please tap the like and subscribe buttons. In my channel, you can find Norse, Greek, and Egyptian mythology tales. Comment and tell me which myth you'd like to hear next. Your support helps us craft and shape more calm stories for fellow night owls. And now let your shoulders sink softly into the mattress and your mind drift into today's tale. The quiet stillness settled over Asgard. A gentle light bathed the golden halls. Peace reigned here, undisturbed and profound. This was the home of the Aesir. They were gods of great power. Life moved at a tranquil pace. Days unfolded like soft petals. Laughter often echoed through the air. It was a sound of pure contentment. The Aesir knew no want. Their world was vibrant. Green fields stretched endlessly. Rivers flowed with clear, sweet water. Majestic trees touched the sky. A deep contentment filled every heart. The gods lived with purpose. They built magnificent structures. Their hands crafted beauty. Each hall was a testament. It spoke of their skill and joy. Valhalla stood grandest of all. Its roof shimmered like gold. Warriors feasted within its walls. Their voices were strong and clear. Mead flowed freely in their cups. Gimli, the Hall of the Blessed, offered solace. It was a place of quiet reflection. Soft lamplight glowed within. Wise words were often spoken there. Peace resided in its very stones. Beyond the halls, gardens thrived. Fragrant blossoms perfumed the air. Bees hummed a lazy tune. A sense of timelessness prevailed. It was a truly golden age. The Aesir were strong and vital. They knew no illness or decay. Their youth was eternal. This gift came from golden apples. These fruits were truly magical. Idun, the goddess of youth, tended them. Her hands were soft and gentle. She guarded the precious orchard. The apples glowed with inner light. They sustained the Aesir. Each apple held potent magic. A single bite renewed vitality. It banished any hint of age. The gods remained forever young. They thrived on this divine sustenance. Their existence was harmonious. Disputes were rare and brief. Wisdom guided their decisions. They lived by shared principles. Respect bound them together. Odin, the All-Father, watched over all. His wisdom was vast and ancient. He sat upon his throne, Echlidskjalf. From there, he saw all realms. His gaze was ever watchful. Frigg, his beloved queen, sat beside him. Her presence brought comfort. She wove the threads of fate. Her knowledge was deep subtle. She understood many secrets. Thor, mighty and strong, protected Asgard. His hammer, Mjolnir, thundered. He defended their sacred home. His strength was unmatched. He was a loyal guardian. Balder the Beautiful brought light. His presence was gentle and pure. He radiated warmth and joy. He was loved by all. His heart was truly kind. Freyja, goddess of love and beauty, graced their world. Her allure was undeniable. She rode in her chariot. 2 cats pulled her along. Her spirit was free and wild. They lived in perfect balance. Each god had a vital role. They worked together seamlessly. Their purpose was clear. They upheld the order of the cosmos. Days blurred into weeks. Weeks flowed into months. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. There was no rush, no urgency, only quiet, enduring peace. Then a subtle shift occurred. A tremor, faint at first. It rippled through the stillness. Something new was approaching. A change was on the horizon. One bright morning, a stranger appeared. She stood at Asgard's gates. Her arrival was unannounced. No one had seen her approach. She simply was there. Her beauty stunned all who saw her. It was unlike any beauty known. Her hair shone like spun gold. Her eyes held a curious gleam. They were deep and captivating. Her gown shimmered with light. It seemed woven from starlight. Jewels adorned her slender neck. They caught the sun's bright rays. Her presence was luminous. She moved with ethereal grace. Each step was a dance. A subtle aura surrounded her. It pulled at the senses. It promised something new and exciting. Her name was Gullveig. It meant gold drunk. A strange name indeed. It hinted at a deep obsession. But no one understood its meaning then. The guards were mesmerized. They lowered their spears slowly. They could not turn her away. Her beauty compelled them. They allowed her entry into Asgard. Word of her arrival spread quickly. Whispers followed her path. Gods and goddesses gathered. They gazed upon her with wonder. Her charm was undeniable. She spoke with a silken voice. Her words were like music. She told tales of distant lands, lands filled with untold riches, lands brimming with glittering gold. She carried no weapons, no sign of ill intent, only a captivating smile. It promised much. It hinted at endless possibilities. Gullveig began to mingle. She moved among the Aesir. Her presence was intoxicating. She drew them into her orbit. Her influence grew day by day. She never demanded anything. She simply offered asterisk ideas. Ideas of what asterisk could asterisk be. Ideas of greater beauty. Ideas of unimaginable wealth. She spoke of adornment, not just simple beauty, but beauty enhanced by gold, by gleaming jewels, by rare, precious stones. She showed them trinkets, small, glittering objects, a tiny golden bird, a necklace of polished gems. Each was exquisitely crafted. The Aesir had no need for such things. Their world was perfect. Their halls already shone. Their beauty was inherent. But Gulveig made them want asterisk. She subtly planted seeds. Seeds of desire. Seeds of longing. For things they had never considered. For possessions beyond their needs. Imagine, she would murmur. Her voice was soft and low. Imagine a hall of pure gold, not merely gilded, but solid. Her eyes sparkled with the thought. Imagine garments, she'd continue, woven with threads of gold, adorned with countless diamonds, more radiant than the sun. A subtle shift began. The Aesir listened intently. They found themselves dreaming of these new wonders, dreaming of glittering hoards. Before, their joy was simple. It came from creation, from shared purpose, from the golden apples. Now, a new joy beckoned, a joy of acquisition. Small conversations began, whispers about gold, about its beauty, about its power. A new fascination took root. It began to spread slowly. Some gods started collecting, not for need, but for desire. A small golden goblet, a unique polished stone. The objects were beautiful, but their beauty was different. It was a beauty of possession, a beauty that hinted at status, a beauty that demanded attention. The golden apples remained. Idun still tended them. Their light still glowed, but a different light began to shine. It was the cold, hard gleam of gold. Gulveig taught them how to find it, where to seek it, how to mine it, how to refine it. She was a master of its allure. She demonstrated its malleability, how it could be shaped into intricate designs, into dazzling ornaments, into symbols of power. The Aesir, once content, felt a new urge, a subtle discontent, a feeling that something was missing, something more was needed. Before, they built for beauty, for shared spaces, for communal joy. Now, thoughts turned inward to personal gain, to individual splendor. Craftsmen began new projects, not grand halls for all, but intricate jewelry for individual gods, for personal adornment. The focus shifted from the collective to the self, from shared prosperity to personal wealth. It was a quiet, insidious change. Odin observed this transformation. His brow furrowed slightly. He saw the subtle discord, the growing unease, the rising desires. He saw the gentle gleam in their eyes. It was not the light of joy. It was the glint of avarice, a hunger he had not seen before. Frigg felt it too, a faint tremor in the threads. The tapestry of fate was shifting. New patterns were emerging, patterns of greed and envy. The golden age was fading, not with a crash or a roar, but with a soft, insidious whisper. The whisper of gold, the allure of wealth. Gulveig never forced them. She merely suggested asterisk. She inspired asterisk. She unveiled asterisk new possibilities. Possibilities that had always existed, but the Aesir had never seen them. Not in this way, not not with this intensity, not with this consuming desire. The apples of Idun still sustained them. They still brought eternal youth, but the joy of their sustenance lessened. A new hunger was born, a hunger for more, for shining things, for glittering treasures, for the cold, hard beauty of gold. The harmony began to fray. Small arguments arose over who possessed the finest jewel, over who owned the largest hoard, over who held the most gold. Before, sharing was natural. Now, possession was paramount. A subtle selfishness took root. It spread through Asgard like a creeping shadow. Gulveig watched it unfold. A faint smile touched her lips. Her eyes held a knowing glint. Her purpose was unfolding, just as she intended. She had introduced a poison, a beautiful, glittering poison. It slowly seeped into their souls. It corrupted their pure hearts. It tainted their golden age. The Aesir were still gods, still powerful and strong, but their inner landscape had changed. Their values were subtly altered. Their priorities had shifted. The first signs of discord appeared. A raised voice in Valhalla, a frown in Gimli, a moment of envy, a spark of resentment. These were new emotions, unfamiliar and unsettling. They had no place in Asgard, not in the Golden Age, not until now. The peace began to crack, not loudly, but quietly, like ice forming on a lake, a thin, fragile layer. It would soon spread. The once perfect balance wavered. The scales tipped slightly towards something darker, towards something more volatile. Gulveig moved freely among them, her beauty undiminished, her charm unwavering. She was the catalyst, the spark that ignited change. She was the embodiment of desire, the very spirit of greed. She had brought it to Asgard, a gift wrapped in golden promises. The Aesir, once so content, now longed. They yearned for more. Their eyes were fixed on gold. Their hearts yearned for its gleam. The golden age was tarnished. Its pure light dimmed. The shadow of avarice fell. It fell upon Asgard. It fell upon the Aesir. The stage was set for conflict, for struggle, for a war. A war not of armies, but of values, of desires, of hearts. The peace was broken, the harmony shattered, all by a single, beautiful stranger, all by the allure of gold, all by Gulveig. The shimmer of gold grew. It caught every eye. Gulveig's whispers spread further. Her words were like honeyed wine. They promised endless riches. They spoke of glittering hoards. Each Aesir felt the pull. Their thoughts turned to treasure. Gold became their waking dream. It gilded their very breath. They craved its cold, hard gleam. This craving was new to them. Asgard's halls once echoed. Laughter and song filled the air. Now, a different sound emerged. It was the clinking of coins. It was the murmur of desires. A quiet greed took root. The gods began to change. Their eyes held a new glint. It was the glint of avarice. Their hands reached for more. They hoarded what they found. Sharing became a forgotten art. Freyja, once so generous, clutched her golden necklace. She polished its shining surface. Her smile became a little tighter. Her usual warmth seemed distant. She guarded her precious things. Thor, the mighty thunderer, counted his arm rings. He admired their intricate work. His boisterous shouts quieted. He worried about his possessions. A shadow crossed his brow. Even wise Odin felt it, the urge to gather wealth. He saw the shift in his kin. He watched the subtle changes. A disquiet settled within him. This was not Asgard's way. Gulveig smiled, a knowing smile. She moved among them freely. Her presence was a constant hum. It sang of untold fortunes. She offered golden trinkets, small gifts subtly given. The gifts were never enough. They fueled a deeper hunger. The Aesir yearned for more. They sought her out for guidance. Where can such gold be found? They would ask. Gulveig would point and gesture. She would hint at hidden veins. She spoke of glittering streams. Her voice was soft and lulling. She rarely offered specifics, just enough to tempt them. Discord began to fester. Small arguments flared up. Who owned this piece of land? Whose claim was stronger now? The sharing spirit dwindled. Trust began to fray. Frigg, Odin's queen, saw it clearly. She watched her beloved Aesir. Their faces were drawn and tense. Their eyes held a strange glint. It was the gold lust, she knew. She spoke to Odin softly. "My lord," she began, "this change, it darkens our bright halls. It poisons our very hearts." Her voice held deep concern. She feared for their future. Odin nodded, his face grim. He had felt it too, this chill. He had seen the growing greed. It twisted their noble spirits. Asgard was becoming fractured. Its unity began to break. The peace they cherished was gone, replaced by quiet suspicion. Each god eyed the other. They guarded their newfound wealth. The air grew heavy with tension. A storm was surely brewing. One day, a great feast was planned. It was meant to be joyous, but the tables were sparse. Each god held onto their bounty. No one brought forth their best. The generosity had vanished. Gulveig sat amongst them. Her golden hair shimmered. Her eyes sparkled with amusement. She watched their strained faces. She relished the growing unease. Her power was undeniable. Odin watched her closely. He saw her subtle smiles. He heard her soft, low chuckles. She reveled in their misery. She delighted in their greed. A cold fury gripped him. This creature, this sorceress. She had poisoned his people. She had corrupted their spirits. She had shattered their peace. Something had to be done. He could not let this continue. He rose from his high seat. The murmuring ceased at once. All eyes turned to him. His gaze was stern and unyielding. It swept across the assembled gods. It settled on Gulveig. "Hear me, Aesir," Odin boomed. His voice echoed through the hall. "A blight has fallen upon us. A shadow dims our light. His words were heavy with sorrow, yet also with resolve. This gold lust, he continued, it consumes us. It turns brother against brother. It makes us forget our bonds. He gestured towards Gulveig. She is the source of this rot. Gulveig's smile faltered slightly. Her eyes narrowed in defiance. She met Odin's gaze. A challenge passed between them. The air crackled with tension. The other gods watched in silence. She brought avarice to Asgard, Odin declared. She sowed discord amongst us. She must be stopped now. His voice held absolute conviction. There was no turning back. A murmur rippled through the hall. Some gods looked surprised. Others nodded in agreement. A few seemed hesitant. The choice was a stark one. Gulveig or their old ways. Odin raised his hand. She has done enough damage. Her vile influence ends today. His voice was firm and resolute. He gave a silent command. His loyal warriors moved forward. They were grim-faced and silent. Their spears gleamed in the light. They surrounded Gulveig quickly. There was no escape for her. Her eyes flashed with anger. A defiant spark. Gulveig stood her ground. She did not cower or flee. A strange confidence filled her. She looked at Odin calmly, as if this was all expected, as if she knew their plan. Odin gave the signal. The warriors raised their spears. Their points were sharp and cold. They plunged them into her flesh. A collective gasp rose up. The hall grew utterly silent. Gulveig fell to the ground. Her body lay still for a moment. A dark stain spread slowly. The Aesir watched in horror. Had it truly been so easy? Was she truly vanquished? But then a strange light. It emanated from her form. A golden glow, faint at first. It grew brighter, pulsing. The wounds on her body closed. The stain began to fade. Gulveig stirred, then rose. She stood as if unharmed. Her golden hair shimmered. Her eyes held a mocking glint. She looked at Odin, smiling. A taunting, defiant smile. "Is that all, Allfather?" she purred. Her voice was low and clear. It carried through the stunned hall. "Your spears lack true power. Your anger rings hollow." Odin's face was thunderous. His fury was immense. This creature was unkillable. She defied all their might. He would not be defeated, not by this golden witch. "Bring the pyre," Odin commanded. His voice shook the very foundations. Let fire cleanse her corruption. Let flame consume her essence. He would try again with fire. The warriors moved quickly. They piled wood in the center, dry branches, tall and strong. They built a funeral pyre. Gulveig watched them calmly. Her smile never wavered. She was bound to the pyre. Strong ropes held her fast. The wood was set alight. Flames leaped up instantly. They licked at her golden hair. They wrapped around her form. The fire roared and crackled. It consumed the dry wood. The heat was immense. The Aesir shielded their eyes. They watched her burn, surely. This time, she would perish. The flames grew higher and higher. They engulfed Gulveig completely. Her form was lost to sight. Only the fiery inferno remained. A smell of ash filled the air, a feeling of dread. They waited for the smoke to clear, for the embers to die down, for a sign of her demise. But as the flames lessened, a golden shimmer appeared. It pulsed within the heat. Gulveig emerged from the fire. Her skin was unblemished. Her hair still shone brightly. Not a single strand was singed. She stood amidst the dying embers. Her smile was wider now. Such feeble flames, she scoffed. Her voice was laced with scorn. They tickle, they do not burn. Is this your great power? She laughed, a chilling sound. It echoed in the stunned hall. The Aesir looked at each other. Disbelief etched on their faces. She was truly invincible. Their might was useless against her. Despair began to set in. What could they possibly do? Odin's jaw was clenched tight. His eyes burned with rage. He would not yield to her. He would not let her win. He would try one last time. He would not give up hope. Again, Odin roared. His voice was hoarse with fury. Burn her again, higher, hotter. Let the very heavens consume her. He would not accept defeat, not while she still breathed. More wood was brought forth. The pyre was built anew, this time even larger. The flames would be immense. They would be hotter than before. They would surely destroy her. Gulveig was placed upon it. Her eyes gleamed with malice. She seemed to relish this test of their resolve, this display of her power. She knew she would endure. The fire was lit once more. It leaped with renewed vigor. It rose to blinding heights. The heat was unbearable. The very air shimmered. The hall grew impossibly hot. The flames roared like a beast. They engulfed Gulveig entirely. Nothing could survive this. No living thing could endure. The Aesir watched in silence. A desperate, hopeful silence. They waited and they watched. For what seemed like an age, the fire raged and burned. It consumed all in its path. Then, slowly, it began to subside. The heat lessened its grip as the last embers faded, as the smoke began to clear. A golden light appeared. It shimmered in the space. Gulveig stood there, whole. Her smile was triumphant. 3 times, she whispered. Her voice was soft but clear. It carried through the silent hall. 3 times you tried to slay me. 3 times you have failed. Her eyes glowed with power. A strange, ancient power. She looked at Odin, laughing. Your strength is but a jest. Your fury, a mere whisper. She reveled in her victory. The Aesir were defeated. Their spirits were broken. How could they fight this foe? One who could not be killed. One who reveled in their weakness. Despair gripped them tightly. Gulveig's laughter rang out. It was a cold, mocking sound. It echoed through the hall. It filled them with dread. She had won this round, utterly. Her power was absolute. Odin stood defeated. His face was etched with pain. He had failed his people. He had failed Asgard. The Golden Witch remained, her influence unbroken. The Aesir scattered, disheartened. They retreated to their halls. The silence was heavy now. It was the silence of despair. The war had truly begun, a war they could not win. The air still hummed. A faint echo of the fires remained. Gullveig lay quiet, her form was still. Her true nature, however, stirred far away. It rippled through Vanaheim, a sacred land of green and gold. Vanaheim was a realm of vibrant life. Meadows stretched endlessly there. Rivers flowed with gentle song. It was home to the Vanir, a tribe of ancient gods. They embodied fertility. They mastered deep magic. Their wealth was boundless. It sprang from the earth itself. Gullveig was one of them, a revered daughter of Vanaheim. Her craft was potent. Her spirit was free. She had ventured forth, seeking knowledge and new paths. The Aesir had found her. Their welcome was harsh. Their fires had burned. Their spears had pierced deep. News travels swiftly, even across realms. It rides on the wind. It whispers through the roots. A tremor began, a deep, unsettling hum. It spoke of injustice. It cried out for truth. The Vanir felt it, a chill in their hearts. And Njord felt it first, a god of the sea and wind. His senses were keen, attuned to all currents. He stood by the shore. The waves lapped gently. A deep disquiet rose. It ruffled his calm. He sensed a disturbance. A beloved spirit was harmed. Freya felt it too, the lord of sunshine and growth. His fields seemed less bright. His golden boar, Gullinbursti, snorted softly. A shadow fell over him. A beloved kin was in pain. His heart tightened. A growing unease spread. Freyja felt it most keenly. Her tears welled unbidden. She was the goddess of love, of beauty and war. Her connection to Gullveig was strong, a bond forged in ancient times. A sharp pang pierced her. A sister was suffering. Her beloved cats, Beigel and Tiarjegel, arched their backs. Their purrs turned to low growls. The news arrived in full, carried by swift, unseen messengers. Whispers turned to shouts. Sorrow twisted into rage. Gullveig, their bright sorceress, had been brutalized. The Aesir had done this without cause, without mercy. They had burned her thrice. They had pierced her with spears. A collective gasp swept Vanaheim. Disbelief gave way to fury. This was no misunderstanding. This was a blatant affront. It was an unprovoked attack, a deep, unforgivable insult. The Aesir had violated all custom. They had broken all peace. And Njord's calm dissolved. His eyes, usually serene, flashed. The sea itself seemed to churn, reflecting his wrath. They dared. He boomed, his voice like crashing waves. They dared touch one of ours. They dared harm Gullveig. His hands clenched, powerful and swift. Freya's golden hair seemed to bristle. His gentle demeanor vanished, replaced by stern resolve. "This cannot stand," he declared, his voice firm and clear. This act is an outrage, a stain upon all honor. He grasped his sword, Sumarbrander. Its hilt felt warm in his hand. Freya's grief hardened, her sorrow transformed into fire. Her eyes gleamed with fierce determination, her tears dried on her cheeks. They will pay, she vowed, her voice a low, dangerous growl. For every burn, every wound, they will suffer tenfold. Her cloak, made of falcon feathers, seemed to ripple with dark energy. A great council was called, the Vanir gathered swiftly. Gods and goddesses assembled, their faces grim and set. The air crackled with tension. A storm was brewing. The story was retold, each detail fueling their ire. They threw her into the fire. A voice cried out, full of anguish. Not once, but thrice. Another added, their voice trembling. They pierced her with spears. A third declared, their fists clenched. The images were vivid, burned into their minds. And Jord stood tall, his presence commanding. This is not merely an act against Gulveig, he stated, his voice resonating. This is an act against all Vanir, a declaration of war. His gaze swept across the assembly, meeting every eye. A roar of agreement erupted, a unified cry of vengeance. The Vanir were a peaceful folk, but their fury, once roused, was terrible. They valued harmony, they cherished life, but insults to their kin they would not tolerate. We will march, Freya declared, his hand on his sword. We will show them our might. We will defend our honor. His golden boar snorted, pawing the ground impatiently. We will fight with magic, Freya added, her voice laced with power. We will weave spells of destruction. They will regret their folly. Her eyes glowed with inner light, her aura shimmered. The decision was unanimous, swift, and resolute. War was declared. The truce was shattered. The age of peace had ended. The age of conflict began. The Vanir prepared for battle, their hearts filled with righteous wrath. Weapons were sharpened, armor was donned. The sounds of preparation filled Vanaheim, a stark contrast to its usual calm. Magic was woven, spells of protection and offense. The air thrummed with energy, a rising tide of power, and Jord gathered his forces, the sea gods and goddesses. Their chariots were fashioned from shells, pulled by mighty sea creatures. Their weapons gleamed, forged from rare, deep-sea metals. They moved with silent precision, a force of immense power. Freya assembled his warriors, the gods of fertility and strength. They rode on swift steeds, their banners streamed in the wind. Their weapons were of gold and bronze, shining brightly in the sun. They were a formidable sight, ready for any challenge. Freya led her loyal followers, the goddesses of love and battle. They were fierce and beautiful, their power undeniable. Their magic was fluid, their movements graceful, yet deadly. They were a whirlwind of force, a true spectacle of might. The first skirmishes began, swift and brutal. The Vanir moved with purpose, their anger a driving force. They knew the terrain, they understood the flow of magic. Their attacks were precise, their aim true. The Aesir were caught off guard, unprepared for such ferocity. They had underestimated the Vanir. They had misjudged their resolve. They had believed their actions would go unpunished. They had been sorely mistaken. The Vanir struck first, a wave of shimmering magic. It crashed against the Aesir lines, disorienting and powerful. Arrows flew through the air, imbued with elemental force. Spears pierced shields, driven by righteous fury, and Jord's warriors attacked from the flanks, a surge of oceanic power. Waves rose and fell, confusing the Aesir. Their movements were fluid, their blows swift and strong. They fought with the force of the tide, relentless and unstoppable. Freya's warriors charged head-on, a golden tide of might. Their shouts echoed across the battlefield, a roar of defiance. Their weapons carved through armor, their strength was immense. They fought with the power of the earth, unyielding and firm. Freya's legions moved like a dance, deadly and enchanting. Their spells blossomed in the air, beautiful, yet destructive. They moved with grace, their attacks precise and lethal. They fought with the fire of emotion, passionate and fierce. The Aesir faltered, their ranks broken. Confusion spread among them, their arrogance shattered. They had believed themselves supreme, unchallenged in their power. The Vanir proved them wrong decisively and painfully. The battles raged, day turned into night. The sky was lit by magic, the ground trembled with blows. The air filled with shouts, the clash of steel, the hum of spells. The war had truly begun, its shadow cast wide. The Vanir pushed forward, their momentum unstoppable. They fought for Gullveig, for their honor, their kin. They fought with a unified purpose, a singular, burning desire. They would make the Aesir understand the depth of their error. The Aesir retreated, their forces scattered. They regrouped slowly, their leaders grim-faced. Odin watched from afar, his single eye narrowed. He had not foreseen this fierce, unyielding response. The early battles were victories for the enraged Vanir. They had proven their strength, they had shown their resolve. But the war was far from over. Battles would multiply. The conflict would escalate, its scope would widen. Gullveig's suffering had sparked a fire, a conflagration. It consumed the peace, it ignited the realms. The war of the Aesir and the Vanir had truly begun. Its echoes would resound through time and myth. The air grew heavy, a sense of foreboding settled. The realms held their breath, awaiting the next blow. The Vanir continued their advance, their fury unabated. Their steps were firm, their resolve unshakable, and Jord, Freya, and Freyja led their forces. Their leadership was strong, their determination unwavering. They were united in purpose, a formidable trio. Their presence inspired their warriors, their courage infectious. The fields of Vanaheim were emptying, its warriors marching forth. The gentle hum of peace was replaced by the thrum of war drums. The vibrant colors of home gave way to the stark shades of conflict. This was a new chapter, a harsh reality. The Vanir had always sought balance, a harmony with nature. Their magic was nurturing, their ways peaceful. But now, their power was unleashed for a different purpose. It was a power born of pain, a force of retribution. The first skirmishes were just a taste, a prelude to what was to come. The Vanir had sent a message, clear and resounding. They would not tolerate insult. They would not suffer injustice. They were a force to be reckoned with, a power to respect. The Aesir would learn a harsh lesson. Their arrogance had blinded them. Their pride had led them astray. They had awakened a sleeping giant, a force of immense power. The war had begun, its outcome uncertain. The night deepened, the stars twinkled above. But their light seemed dim, overshadowed by the unfolding conflict. The realms braced themselves for the long war ahead. The Vanir marched on, their hearts burning bright. The wind carried their war cries across the silent lands. It whispered of vengeance. It spoke of justice. The Vanir would not rest until their honor was restored, until Gulveig's pain was avenged in full. Their journey was long, their path was clear. The war had started. There was no turning back. The first skirmishes were won, but many battles remained. The Vanir were ready for whatever lay ahead. Their resolve was firm, their spirit unbroken. They were the Vanir, the guardians of magic and life. And they would fight for their kin, for their truth. The Aesir would face them in the crucible of war. The world held its breath as the Vanir advanced. Their fury was a force, a storm unleashed. The age of peace was gone, the age of war had begun, and the Vanir would lead the charge. The moon rose high, casting long shadows. It illuminated the path of the marching Vanir. Their steps were steady, their purpose clear. The war was upon them, they would meet it head on. Their faces were set, their eyes gleamed with fire. They were united, a singular force. The insult to Gulveig would not be forgotten. The Aesir would pay for their cruel deeds. The sound of their advance echoed through the night. A low, rumbling thunder, a growing threat. The Vanir were coming, with vengeance in their hearts, and the realms would tremble. The first battles were just the beginning. The war would unfold in many acts, but the Vanir had made their stand, their intentions clear. They would fight until victory was theirs. Sleep now, little one. The story continues. The Vanir are marching. Their anger is great. The earth groaned. It shuddered beneath the weight of war. The initial skirmishes had blossomed into full-blown conflict. No longer were these mere border disputes. They were battles, vast and terrible. The Aesir, clad in gleaming armor, marched with a fearsome purpose. Their war cries echoed across the plains. Their weapons, forged in the heart of stars, hummed with destructive power. Thor, the Thunderer, swung Mjolnir. Its mighty hammerhead cleaved the air. Lightning arced from its polished surface. Each strike sent ripples of force through the ground. Vanir warriors, nimble and swift, dodged his blows. They moved like whispers in the wind. Their magic, ancient and potent, shimmered around them. It wove intricate patterns of light and shadow. Freya, radiant and fierce, rode her chariot. Two great cats, sleek and powerful, pulled it. Her cloak, made of falcon feathers, rustled in the wind. She cast spells of confusion and despair. Arrows tipped with frost flew from Vanir bows. They whistled through the air. They sought the gaps in Aesir armor. Each arrow carried a chill, a touch of winter's bite. Aesir spears, sharp and true, pierced the magical defenses. They were imbued with the strength of Asgard. They shattered illusions like fragile glass. Their points found their mark. The battlefield became a maelstrom of sound and fury. The clash of steel on magic rang out. The cries of warriors, both triumph and pain, filled the air. The very sky seemed to weep. Odin, the Allfather, watched from his throne. His single eye, wise and ancient, saw all. He felt the tremors of the war. He knew the cost of this terrible conflict. His spear, Gungnir, pulsed with a steady light. It yearned for battle. But Odin remained a stoic observer. His wisdom guided his warriors. The Vanir, deeply connected to the earth, drew strength from it. Roots erupted from the soil. They ensnared Aesir warriors. Vines, thick and thorny, wrapped around their legs. But the Aesir, trained in relentless combat, hacked them away. Their axes bit into the wood. Their swords severed the thorny vines. They pressed forward, unyielding. Forests burned, consumed by the fires of war. Rivers ran red with blood. Mountains crumbled, their ancient peaks scarred. The realms themselves groaned under the strain. The air grew thick with dust and magic. The scent of ozone mingled with the smell of scorched earth. The vibrant colors of the world seemed muted, dulled by the conflict. Vanir shamans chanted ancient incantations. Their voices, low and resonant, vibrated through the ground. They conjured storms of wind and rain. They called upon the spirits of the wild. The Aesir, however, were accustomed to the elements. They braced themselves against the wind. They fought through the driving rain. Their resolve remained unbroken. Heimdall, the guardian of the Bifrost, sounded his horn. Its mournful call echoed across the realms. It was a warning, a lament. It spoke of the deepening tragedy. Frey, the Vanir god of fertility, fought with a golden sword. It glowed with a gentle light. It cut through the darkness of battle. He sought to protect his people. His sister, Freya, fought beside him. Her magic was a shield. It deflected the fiercest blows. Her beauty was a deceptive weapon. The Aesir, masters of strategy, moved in disciplined formations. Their shield walls were unbreakable. Their charges were unstoppable. They were a force of nature, honed by countless battles. The Vanir, however, were unpredictable. They flowed like water. They shifted like the wind. Their tactics were fluid, adapting to every move. In one devastating clash, a troop of Aesir berserkers charged. They roared with primal fury. Their eyes burned with battle lust. They were a terrifying sight. Vanir mages met them with a wall of ice. It rose from the ground, shimmering and cold. The berserkers slammed into it. Their momentum was momentarily halted, but the ice cracked. It splintered under their relentless assault. They clawed their way through. Their axes began to chip away at the frozen barrier. The Vanir retaliated. They summoned illusions. They created ghostly armies. They made the battlefield twist and turn. It disoriented the Aesir. Yet the Aesir were not easily deceived. Their senses were sharp. Their instincts were honed. They saw through the shimmering veils. They pressed on, unwavering. The sun, when it broke through the smoke, cast long, distorted shadows. It painted the grim tableau in hues of blood and ash. The day was endless, a blur of combat. Night brought little respite. The battles continued under the pale moonlight. The sounds of war echoed through the darkness. The air thrummed with residual magic. Both sides were weary. Their bodies ached. Their spirits were strained. The initial fervor had been replaced by a grim determination. This war had to end. But how? Neither side seemed to gain a decisive advantage. The Aesir's strength met the Vanir's magic. It was a stalemate, a brutal, exhausting deadlock. The losses mounted. Each fallen warrior, each broken shield, was a testament to the war's toll. The fields of battle were graveyards. They were monuments to sacrifice. The Aesir mourned their fallen heroes. Their halls were quieter. Their feasts were somber. The joy that once filled Asgard was dimmed. The Vanir wept for their lost kin. Their forests felt emptier. Their rivers flowed with a deeper sorrow. The vibrant life of Vanaheim was scarred. Even the animals of the realms suffered. Their habitats were destroyed. Their ancient migration routes were disrupted. The natural world bore the scars of conflict. Ravens, harbingers of war, circled above. Their black wings cast shadows. Their caws were mournful. They feasted on the fallen. Wolves, gaunt and hungry, prowled the edges of the battlefields. They howled at the moon. Their cries were a lament. They too felt the impact of the war. The very fabric of the realms began to fray. The veil between worlds thinned. Strange energies seeped into existence. The balance was disturbed. The Bifrost, once a vibrant rainbow bridge, seemed paler. Its colors were muted. Its light flickered. It trembled with each thunderous impact. The roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree, felt the vibrations. They stretched deep into the 9 realms. They carried the echoes of the war. The tree itself groaned. The dwarves in their mountain halls heard the distant roar. They felt the earth shake. Their hammers fell silent. Their forging fires dimmed. The elves in their hidden glades saw the smoke. They felt the magic ripple. Their songs grew somber. Their ancient wisdom offered no easy answers. Giants, ancient and slow, stirred in their icy strongholds. They felt the tremors. They heard the distant cries. They wondered what new chaos had been unleashed. The Aesir, led by their formidable generals, pressed their advantage. Tyr, the one-handed god of war, fought with unwavering courage. His sword flashed like lightning. He moved through the fray, a blur of motion. He inspired his warriors. His presence was a beacon of hope. He never faltered. The Vanir, guided by their wise elders, used their knowledge. They knew the land intimately. They used its contours to their advantage. They set traps and ambushes. Their magic was not just destructive. It was also protective. They wove wards of shimmering energy. They conjured mists to conceal their movements. One particularly brutal engagement took place near a great river. The water, usually clear, churned with mud and blood. The banks were littered with bodies. Aesir longships, sleek and powerful, tried to cross. They were met by a torrent of magical projectiles. Rocks, conjured from the riverbed, flew through the air. Vanir archers, hidden in the reeds, rained down arrows. Their aim was deadly. Their arrows found their mark. The Aesir struggled to advance, but the Aesir were masters of siege warfare. They built temporary bridges. They used their sheer numbers. They pushed through the resistance. The air above the river crackled with energy. Spells collided with steel. The roar of battle drowned out the sound of the rushing water. It was a symphony of destruction. Thor, standing on the riverbank, swung Mjolnir. He summoned a storm. Dark clouds gathered overhead. Lightning struck the water. The river boiled. Steam rose in great plumes. The Vanir forces were momentarily disoriented. This was their chance. The Aesir charged across the makeshift bridges. They met the Vanir head-on. The battle raged on the river itself. Warriors fought in the churning water. The Vanir retaliated with their own elemental magic. They called upon the river spirits. The water rose in towering waves. It crashed down on the Aesir. Both sides suffered heavy losses. The river carried away the fallen. It became a watery grave. The battle was a costly, brutal stalemate. The weariness was palpable. It settled over the warriors like a shroud. Their movements became slower. Their eyes held a haunted look. The joy of battle, if it had ever existed, was long gone, replaced by a grim resolve. This war was a burden. It weighed heavily on all. The Aesir, with their structured society, felt the strain. Their resources were being depleted. Their people were stretched thin. The demands of war were relentless. The Vanir, with their more fluid nature, also felt the pressure. Their magical reserves were draining. Their connection to the earth was being tested. The destruction pained them. Frey, the Vanir god, felt the sorrow of the land. He saw the scorched fields. He saw the withered trees. He felt the pain of the dying earth. His golden sword, once a symbol of life, now brought death. His heart was heavy. He longed for peace, but duty called. Odin, too, felt the weight of his decisions. He saw the sacrifices. He knew the cost. His wisdom told him this could not continue indefinitely. The sky, once a brilliant blue, was often obscured by smoke. The sun, a distant orb, cast a dim light. The world was a canvas of gray and brown. The sound of clashing steel became a constant hum. It was woven into the fabric of daily life. It permeated every waking moment. It even haunted dreams. The Aesir wore horns, once signaling triumph, now sounded weary. Their notes were tinged with desperation. They called for more strength, more courage. The Vanir chants, once vibrant and full of life, became mournful. They spoke of loss. They spoke of suffering. They pleaded for an end. The destruction was not just physical. It was spiritual. The morale of both sides was eroding. The hope for a swift victory had long since vanished. This was a war of attrition. Each side sought to outlast the other. Each side sought to break the other's will. It was a test of endurance. The realms trembled. The very foundations of existence groaned. The fabric of reality was stretched thin. The balance of power was precarious. The ancient prophecies spoke of a great war, but they did not specify its end. They spoke only of conflict, of destruction. The Aesir and Vanir, once separate but peaceful, were now locked in a death grip. Their destinies intertwined by conflict. Their fates bound by blood. The earth itself seemed to sigh. Its ancient stones wept. Its deep caverns echoed with the sounds of battle. It longed for peace. And so the war raged on. A seemingly endless cycle of violence. A brutal dance of strength and magic. A testament to the terrible cost of conflict. The grim war dragged on. Months bled into seasons. Each day brought new battles, new losses. The clash of steel echoed across the realms. Magic flared, bright and terrible. Neither side gained a true advantage. The Aesir pushed, then the Vanir repelled. Then the Vanir surged forward, only to be driven back. It was a stalemate, costly and cruel. Valleys once green now lay scorched and barren. Forests, ancient and deep, were reduced to splintered stumps. The air itself seemed heavy, thick with the scent of smoke and sorrow. The vibrant tapestry of the 9 realms began to fray. Life, once abundant, receded. The very land groaned under the weight of endless conflict. A weariness settled upon the warriors. Their faces, once eager for glory, grew etched with fatigue. Their eyes held a haunted look, reflecting the horrors they had witnessed. The triumphant shouts of battle dwindled. They were replaced by the ragged cries of the wounded. The silence after a skirmish felt more profound, more chilling. Even the gods, immortal and mighty, felt the drain. Their divine energy, though vast, was not infinite. Each spell cast, each blow struck, chipped away at their reserves. Freyja, the golden goddess, wept openly. Her tears, once precious amber, now flowed like bitter rain. She mourned the lost beauty of her homeland. She grieved for the fallen, both friend and foe. Her brother Freya, the radiant god of fertility, felt his power wane. The fields he once blessed lay fallow, unyielding. His heart ached for the life that refused to bloom, and Jord, the sea god, watched his tranquil waters churn. They mirrored the turmoil in his soul. The gentle waves crashed with a mournful roar. He longed for peace to return to his oceans. Among the Aesir, the mood was equally grim. Thor, the mighty thunderer, still wielded Mjolnir with unmatched power. Yet, his booming laughter was heard less often. His brow was often furrowed, his gaze distant. He saw the toll on his comrades. He felt the ceaseless grind of war. Heimdall, the ever-vigilant, kept watch from Bifrost. His keen eyes saw the devastation spread. He heard the lamentations from every corner of existence. The world, once vibrant, now bled. Tyr, the god of justice and war, felt his resolve waver. His strong hand, though still firm on his sword, trembled slightly. He questioned the justice in this endless fight. Odin, Allfather, sat upon Æthlidskjalf. From his high seat, he surveyed the realms. His single eye, though all-seeing, saw only ruin. The vision was bleak, heartbreaking. He saw the once proud halls of Asgard, now scarred. The golden sheen of its walls was dulled by grime. The joyous songs of its inhabitants had faded. He looked upon Vanaheim, once so lush and vibrant. Now, it was a shadow of its former self. Its verdant fields were trampled, its forests burned. His ravens, Hugin and Munin, brought him news. Each report was a litany of destruction. More lives lost, more lands laid waste. The news weighed heavily on his spirit. The wisdom he had sought through countless ages felt inadequate. It could not stop this senseless slaughter. His power, though immense, seemed to fail him. A deep weariness settled in his bones. It was a fatigue that even the sleep of ages could not dispel. He felt the weight of his responsibility. He felt the burden of his choices. He remembered the early days of the war. There had been a fierce resolve then, a belief that victory was within reach. That conviction had eroded, slowly but surely. Now only a grim determination remained, a stubborn refusal to yield. But to what end? What would victory truly mean? A hollow triumph over a ruined world. Whispers began to spread through the camps, not of glory, but of cessation, not of conquest, but of compromise. The voices were hesitant at first, then grew bolder. Among the Vanir, the elders spoke. Their voices, though soft, carried the weight of ages. They spoke of the earth's suffering. They spoke of the spirit's exhaustion. How much more can we bear? Asked an old Vanir chieftain. His face was lined with wisdom and sorrow. Our children grow up knowing only conflict. The rivers run red, another added. Her voice was raspy. The air tastes of ash. This is not life. It is merely survival. The younger warriors, though fierce, listened. They saw the truth in the elders' words. Their youthful zeal was tempered by bitter experience. They remembered the faces of their fallen comrades. They saw the grief in their families' eyes. The price of war was too high. In Asgard, similar sentiments stirred. The Aesir Council convened often. Their debates, once fiery, were now subdued. The usual bravado had vanished. Our forces are stretched thin, said a general, his voice hoarse. Our supplies dwindle. We gain ground, then lose it again. The cost is too great, another agreed. His gaze fell upon a map, marked with battle lines. Each line represented countless lives. Even among the fiercest warriors, doubts crept in. They fought bravely, but without true conviction. The fire in their hearts had dimmed. Thor, for all his might, felt it too. He stood before Odin, his usual bluster absent. All-Father, he rumbled, his voice low. This war, it consumes us. Odin listened, his gaze fixed on the distance. He saw the truth in Thor's words. He had seen it for himself. We bleed, they bleed, Thor continued. For what? More blood, more sorrow. There must be another way. His words echoed a growing sentiment. A quiet yearning for an end. A desperate hope for a different path. Odin closed his eye, a deep sigh escaping him. He remembered the prophecy, the doom that awaited all. But this war felt like a prelude, a self-inflicted wound. He had always strived for knowledge, for wisdom, to understand the cosmic dance. Yet, this conflict defied all reason. It was a spiral of destruction. He thought of the sacrifices he had made. His eye, his quest for runes, all for the sake of understanding, to protect his people. But was this protection? This endless cycle of violence? It felt more like a slow, agonizing demise, a shared doom. The thought, once unthinkable, now took root. Peace, not victory, but peace, a cessation of hostilities, a true end. His mind, sharp as always, began to turn. How could it be achieved? What concessions would be necessary? What price would be paid? It would not be easy. Pride was a formidable foe. Both sides had suffered greatly. Forgiveness would be a monumental task, but the alternative was unthinkable. The complete ruin of all, the extinguishing of hope, the triumph of desolation. He opened his eye. It held a new light, not of battle, but of contemplation. A deep, quiet resolve. He called for his most trusted advisors, for those who possessed wisdom, not just strength, for those who saw beyond the immediate conflict. His voice, usually commanding, was now softer. It carried a hint of weariness, but also a newfound determination. The time has come, he began, his gaze sweeping across their faces. To consider a different path, A hush fell over the room. His words hung in the air, a profound shift in the very fabric of their reality. The advisors exchanged glances. Some looked surprised, others relieved. A spark of hope ignited in their eyes. This war, Odin continued, his voice steady. It consumes us all. It drains our strength. It darkens our souls. He paused, letting his words sink in. We have fought bravely. We have endured much. But victory in this form is an illusion. It leads only to further destruction, to a hollow triumph, to a world bereft of life. He stood, his tall figure casting a long shadow. We must seek peace, not surrender, but a true and lasting peace. His words resonated deeply. They touched a chord of longing, a desire that had been suppressed. The advisors murmured, a ripple of agreement. The weight of the war had been crushing. This offer of peace felt like a breath of fresh air, but questions remained. How would it be achieved? What would the Vanir say? Would they even listen? Odin anticipated their concerns. It will not be easy, he admitted. There will be much to overcome, much to forgive, but the alternative is annihilation. A slow, painful descent into oblivion. He spoke of the suffering of the realms, of the desolation of the lands, of the countless lives lost. He painted a stark picture, a world consumed by fire and blood, a future devoid of light. His advisors listened, their faces grim. They understood the gravity of his words. They saw the terrible truth. We must reach out, Odin declared. His voice grew stronger. We must extend an olive branch. It must be a genuine offer, one of respect, one of mutual understanding. He spoke of the need for empathy, to see the Vanir not as enemies, but as fellow inhabitants, as beings who also suffered. He acknowledged their pain. He recognized their losses. He understood their pride. This was a new approach, one born of desperation, perhaps, but also of profound wisdom. The council began to shift, from strategies of war to pathways of peace. The very air in the hall seemed to lighten. Ideas were tentatively put forth. Messengers, envoys, terms of negotiation. The path would be fraught with peril. Suspicion ran deep. Trust was a fragile thing, but the seed had been planted. The idea of peace, once a distant dream, was now a tangible goal. Odin felt a flicker of hope, a small, fragile flame, but it was there nonetheless. He knew this would be his greatest challenge, greater than any battle, greater than any quest for knowledge, to mend what was broken, to heal the gaping wounds, to bring an end to the ceaseless sorrow. He looked out from the windows of Valaskjalf. The sky was still bruised with the smoke of battle, but in the distance, he imagined a different dawn, a dawn of reconciliation, a dawn of healing, a dawn of peace. The weariness remained, but it was now mingled with purpose, a new, profound purpose. The war had brought them to their knees, but perhaps from that humbled position, a new beginning could emerge. A fragile hope indeed, but a hope nonetheless. A chance to reclaim what was lost, to rebuild, to heal, to live, to thrive. The All-Father, weary but resolute, began to chart a new course. A course towards peace, a course towards a future, however uncertain. The long night of war was far from over, but a faint light had appeared on the horizon, a promise of a different day. The great hall stood silent now. Only the echoes of battle remained. A strange quiet settled over Asgard. The gods sat, weary and worn. Their faces showed the strain of war. Each one pondered the cost. Odin, the All-Father, spoke first. His voice was deep, resonant. "This bloodshed must cease," he declared. "We gain nothing from more fighting." A murmur went through the assembly. Many nodded in agreement. The Vanir, too, felt this weariness. Their halls in Vanaheim were quiet. The vibrant energy had dimmed. Njord, their leader, saw the sorrow. He knew peace was the only path. Messengers traveled between realms. They carried proposals, then counter-proposals. The negotiations were long. They were often frustrating. Trust was a fragile thing. Both sides held their breath. Days turned into weeks. The air remained tense. Hope flickered, then dimmed. Then it flared again. Finally, a breakthrough came. A truce seemed possible. The terms were debated fiercely. Every clause was scrutinized. The gods argued late into the night. They sought a lasting peace, one that would truly hold. A crucial point arose. How could trust be built? How could it be maintained? A bold idea was proposed. It was an ancient custom, an exchange of hostages. This act would show commitment. It would bind both sides. Each realm would offer its own, its most esteemed figures. This was a heavy decision. Odin considered the Aesir. Who could represent them? Who could foster goodwill? He thought of Honir. Honir was tall and imposing. He was a striking figure. Honir possessed a noble bearing. His presence commanded respect. Yet, he was often indecisive. He struggled with big choices. This was a known trait. Alongside Honir, Odin chose Mimir. Mimir was the keeper of knowledge. He was renowned for his wisdom. His counsel was invaluable. He knew the ancient ways. Mimir's wisdom was legendary. He held the secrets of the cosmos. His spring nourished Yggdrasil. His presence would bring great balance. He would offer sound advice. The decision was not easy. To send away such gods, it felt like a sacrifice, but peace demanded it. The Aesir agreed to the choice. In Vanaheim, Njord deliberated. He consulted with his people. Who would they send? Who would best represent them? Who would ensure peace? He looked to his own children. Freya, the god of fertility. Freya brought prosperity. He radiated warmth and life. His presence would be a blessing. Then there was Freyja, the goddess of love and beauty. She was also a powerful sorceress. Her magic was unmatched. She embodied the Vanir spirit. and Njord himself would go. He was the god of the sea. He brought wealth and calm. His wisdom was profound. He would ensure fair dealings. The Vanir Council agreed. This was a weighty exchange, their most cherished figures, but peace was paramount. They believed in this path. The day of the exchange dawned. A stillness hung in the air. Both realms prepared. A sense of apprehension lingered. Yet, hope illuminated the sky. The Aesir gathered their chosen. Honir stood tall, yet nervous. His brow was slightly furrowed. He smoothed his silken tunic. He clutched a small, carved bird. Mimir stood beside him. His ancient eyes held calm. He wore a simple, flowing robe. His staff, gnarled and old, rested in his hand. He radiated deep serenity. Odin gave them his blessing. "Go forth, my sons," he said. His voice was solemn. "Represent us with honor. Bring us lasting peace." Honir nodded, his jaw tight. Mimir simply bowed. They stepped onto the path. The Bifrost shimmered brightly. It awaited their passage. In Vanaheim, the atmosphere was different. There was a gentle hum, a quiet anticipation. Njord stood ready. His sea blue cloak billowed softly. Freya approached him. His golden hair shone. A smile touched his lips. He carried a small, carved boar. It was a symbol of good fortune. Freyja glided forward. Her eyes sparkled like stars. Her cloak was woven with feathers. A delicate necklace adorned her throat. She exuded grace and power. Njord embraced them both. "My children," he whispered, "go with our love, carry our hope. May peace blossom between us." Freya nodded, his smile unwavering. Freyja's eyes held a gentle resolve. They were ready for this journey. They would embrace their new roles. The Vanir watched them depart. A collective sigh escaped. It was a mixture of sorrow and profound optimism. This was a new beginning. The journey was long. Across the realms they traveled, the Aesir to Vanaheim, the Vanir to Asgard. Each step was a commitment. Honir and Mimir arrived first. The green fields of Vanaheim. The air was soft and fragrant. It was unlike the crisp air of Asgard. Honir looked around, curious. The Vanir welcomed them. Their faces were kind, yet a cautious distance remained. Trust was still forming. Mimir observed everything. His gaze was keen. He noted the subtle nuances, the way the light fell, the gentle hum of magic. The Vanir offered them lodging, a comfortable, spacious hall. It was filled with natural light. Woven tapestries adorned the walls. They depicted peaceful scenes. Honir tried to settle in. He missed the clang of Asgard, the boisterous laughter, the familiar faces. This quiet was new. Mimir, however, found solace. He sought out the ancient trees. He listened to the whispers of the wind. He felt the deep roots of magic. He began to share his wisdom. He spoke of the cosmos, of the flow of time. The Vanir listened intently. They found his words profound. Honir, though, struggled. When asked for counsel, he hesitated. "Let Mimir decide," he would say. His indecision was apparent. The Vanir noticed this. A quiet concern began to grow. Was this the best the Aesir offered? Was their commitment truly strong? Meanwhile, in Asgard, Njord arrived, with Freya and Freyja. The grand halls felt imposing. The air was cooler here. It was filled with power. The Aesir watched their arrival. Curiosity mingled with apprehension. Njord carried himself with dignity. His presence was calming. Freya seemed at ease. His golden aura brightened the hall. He brought a sense of warmth, a natural generosity. Freyja, however, captivated them. Her beauty was undeniable. Her aura pulsed with magic. The Aesir were fascinated. They had never seen such grace. Odin greeted them formally. He offered them a grand residence. It was a hall of carved wood, adorned with precious metals, a testament to their status. Njord settled in quickly. He found the Aesir intriguing. Their strength was evident. Their directness was refreshing. He admired their courage. Freya explored Asgard. He found the fields fertile. He saw the potential for growth. He shared his knowledge of agriculture. The Aesir listened with interest. Freyja, too, explored. She observed the Aesir closely. She noted their customs, their rituals. She found them fascinating. She began to teach them magic, spells of protection, charms of healing. The Aesir were eager students. Her powers were remarkable. Yet a subtle tension remained. The memory of war lingered. Both sides remembered the battles, the losses they had suffered. The Aesir watched the Vanir. They sought signs of deceit. The Vanir watched the Aesir. They looked for true sincerity. Njord spoke often of peace. He emphasized cooperation. He shared his vast knowledge about the sea and its bounty, about the flow of wealth. Freya showed them how to grow, how to cultivate the land, how to ensure prosperity. He shared the secrets of the earth. He taught them about abundance. Freyja shared her wisdom about love and beauty, about the power of emotions. She taught them about Satyr magic, the weaving of fate. The Aesir were impressed. The Vanir were truly powerful. Their gifts were immense. They brought a different kind of strength, but the matter of Honir lingered. The Vanir grew more concerned. His indecision became clear. He seemed unable to lead. Mimir tried to compensate. He offered his counsel freely. He spoke with wisdom and grace. He sought to bridge the gap. Yet the Vanir worried. Was Honir a true leader? Was this exchange truly balanced? Doubts began to surface. In Asgard, the Vanir thrived. Njord found common ground. With Odin and the other gods, they discussed the future. Freya's influence was felt. The harvests grew richer. The land became more fertile. Asgard flourished under his touch. Freyja's magic was transformative. She brought beauty and joy. She taught new ways of seeing. The Aesir felt her power. They realized the value of the Vanir's gifts. Their approach was different, but it was immensely beneficial. The initial apprehension faded, replaced by a cautious respect. The Aesir began to trust the good intentions of the Vanir, yet the shadow of Honir, it still stretched across Vanaheim. His inability to lead was troubling. It caused quiet unease. Mimir tried to explain Honir's nature, his gentle spirit, his preference for quietude, but the Vanir sought decisiveness. The exchange was a gamble, a leap of faith. Both sides had taken it. Now they waited, they watched, they hoped. The future hung delicately on this fragile truce, on the success of these hostages, on the trust that might grow. The days passed slowly, each one a test, each one a step towards a lasting peace or a return to war. The air in Vanaheim remained soft, but a subtle tension was present. The Vanir spoke in hushed tones about Honir's quietness. Mimir continued his counsel. He shared profound insights. He spoke of cosmic balance. He tried to reassure them, but Honir would only nod or defer to Mimir. His silence was deafening to the proactive Vanir. In Asgard, the atmosphere brightened. The Vanir presence was vibrant. Njord spoke of the sea's bounty. He shared tales of distant lands. Freya's touch brought life. The gardens bloomed profusely. The livestock thrived. A sense of abundance permeated. Freya's magic wove through the air. She brought new understanding of the heart's desires, of the soul's deepest longings. The Aesir felt a change, a softening in their hearts, a broadening of their minds. The Vanir brought a richness, the initial fear of the unknown. It slowly dissolved, replaced by genuine appreciation for their new guests. But the question remained, what of Honir? What of Mimir? Were the Vanir truly satisfied? Would this peace truly hold? The exchange of hostages. It was a bold move, a sign of profound hope, and a source of quiet anxiety. Each day was a new chapter in this unfolding story of two mighty tribes learning to live as one. The sun set over both realms, a gentle golden glow. It cast long shadows, but also promised a new dawn. The truce was fragile, built on trust, not force. It required patience. It demanded understanding. The gods slept fitfully, dreaming of the future, a future of peace, a future of harmony, or a return to conflict. The choice lay with them, the success of the exchange. It held the key, the soft hum of magic. It filled the air in Vanaheim. A quiet question lingered. Would Honir ever lead? The vibrant energy of Asgard. It pulsed with new life. A quiet gratitude grew for the gifts of the Vanir. The stage was set for the next chapter, the delicate balance between two powerful worlds, the hope of a true peace. It hung in the cosmos, a shimmering, distant star, waiting to be reached. the journey was not over. It had only just begun. The path ahead was uncertain, but filled with possibility. Sleep now, little one, and dream of peace, of new beginnings, and of ancient wisdom. The air in Asgard shifted, it softened. A new quiet settled. Njord, the sea god, breathed deeply. He smelled the crisp mountain air. It was so different from the salty spray of Vanaheim. He missed the ocean's vastness. He missed the waves' rhythmic lull. Yet, a curious peace began to unfurl within him. He found a quiet corner. It was near a bubbling stream. There he would sit for hours. He watched the trout dart and weave. He saw their silver scales flash. He felt the cool mist on his face. This was a new kind of beauty. The Aesir, at first, were wary. They watched him from a distance. They whispered behind cupped hands. Njord understood their hesitation. He was a stranger in their land, but Njord possessed a gentle spirit. He held no malice in his heart. He simply observed and learned. He listened to the birdsong. He felt the earth beneath his feet. One day, a young Aesir approached. Her name was Idun. She held a basket of apples. Her eyes were bright with curiosity. She offered him a glistening fruit. Njord smiled, a rare, warm smile. He took the apple gratefully. Its crisp sweetness filled his mouth. He felt a small connection form. It was a bridge across the divide. Soon, other Aesir came closer. They asked him about the sea. They wondered about its mysteries. Njord spoke of vast blue depths. He spoke of silent, gliding whales. He described the ocean's bounty. He spoke of fish in shimmering shoals. He told tales of crashing storms. His words painted vivid pictures. The Aesir listened, captivated. They had never ventured far. Their world was of mountains and plains. The sea was a distant, unknown realm. Njord opened their eyes to it. He shared its wondrous secrets. He showed them how to mend nets. He taught them how to cast lines. He spoke of the tides, ebb and flow. He explained the moon's gentle pull. He shared his ancient wisdom. The Aesir, initially hesitant, listened. They learned from his quiet teachings. They saw the richness he offered. Their understanding of the world expanded. Their respect for him grew. Freya, Njord's son, was a vibrant force. He brought the warmth of the sun. He brought the promise of harvest. His presence was like a gentle spring rain. It nourished the very land. Asgard's fields were often hardy. They yielded crops with great effort. The soil was rich, but stubborn. Freya saw its potential immediately. He felt the earth's deep heartbeat. He walked among the golden fields. He touched the nascent grain. He spoke to the growing plants. His voice was a soft murmur. It was a blessing on the land. He taught the Aesir new ways. He spoke of crop rotation. He explained the importance of fallow fields. He shared secrets of soil enrichment. He brought the wisdom of the earth. The Aesir farmers were eager. They had always worked diligently. they worked with new knowledge. They saw their efforts yield more. They saw their harvests swell. Their granaries overflowed. Their tables groaned with plenty. A newfound prosperity bloomed. It was a gift from Freya. It was a testament to his power. Children laughed in the fields. Their hands were stained with berries. Their faces were bright with joy. Freya watched them with a smile. He felt a deep contentment. He often spoke with Thor. The god of thunder was gruff. Yet Thor listened intently. He saw the positive changes. He recognized Freya's immense value. "Your magic is of the earth," Thor rumbled. His voice was like distant thunder. "It is a different kind of strength." Freya nodded, understanding Thor's words. "It is the strength of growth," Freya replied gently. "It is the power of life itself." Their conversations were a bridge. They spanned the chasm of past conflict. Freyja, Njord's daughter, was a vision. She was grace and beauty embodied. She moved with ethereal poise. Her presence was like a fragrant blossom. It filled Asgard with its scent. She brought the art of Satyr. It was a powerful, ancient magic. It wove threads of fate and destiny. It saw glimpses of what was to come. It healed the unseen wounds. The Aesir, particularly the women, were drawn to her. They watched her with awe. They sought her counsel. Freyja listened with compassion. She offered gentle guidance. She taught them about herbs. She spoke of their healing properties. She showed them how to brew potions. She shared charms for protection. She opened their minds to magic. Frigg, Odin's wise wife, observed. She saw Freyja's deep wisdom. She recognized her immense power. Frigg extended her hand in friendship. It was a gesture of profound trust. They spent hours together. They spoke of the cosmos. They discussed the threads of fate. They shared their deepest thoughts. A bond of sisterhood formed. Freyja's magic was not just power. It was also understanding. It was empathy and intuition. She helped the Aesir heal. She helped them mend old wounds. She taught them to see beyond. She showed them the unseen connections. She helped them understand themselves. Her influence was subtle, yet profound. The Aesir halls grew brighter. Laughter echoed more freely. A sense of peace settled. It was a peace born of acceptance. It was a peace forged in shared wisdom. Meanwhile, in Vanaheim, two Aesir adapted. Honir, the silent and swift. Mimir, the wise and thoughtful. Their journey was a different one. It was a quieter integration. Vanaheim was a realm of beauty. Its forests were ancient and deep. Its rivers flowed with gentle grace. Its people were peaceful and artistic. They valued harmony above all. Honir, the swift runner, found solace. He ran through the verdant woods. He felt the soft moss beneath his feet. He breathed the sweet, earthy air. He found a new freedom. He had always been a warrior. His life was of battle and strife. Vanaheim offered him stillness. It offered him a different rhythm. He learned to appreciate its quietude. The Vanir curious but polite, watched. They saw his restless energy. They saw his silent strength. They wondered about his purpose. They wondered about his past. He helped them with their hunts. His speed was unparalleled. He moved like a whisper through the trees. He brought back plentiful game. He earned their quiet respect. He taught them new hunting techniques. He showed them how to track. He explained the subtle signs. The Vanir, always eager to learn, listened. They incorporated his methods. He still spoke little. His words were few and deliberate. Yet his actions spoke volumes. He was a silent, steady presence. He was a pillar of strength. Mimir, the Wise One, was welcomed. The Vanir revered knowledge. They valued deep understanding. Mimir's mind was a vast library. It held countless ancient tales. He sat by the flowing rivers. He observed the dancing light. He listened to the whispering reeds. He meditated on the world. He pondered its intricate workings. The Vanir sought his counsel. They came to him with questions. They asked about the cosmos. They asked about the nature of being. They sought his profound insights. Mimir shared his wisdom freely. He spoke of the world tree, Yggdrasil. He explained its deep roots. He described its vast branches. He spoke of the 9 realms it held. He told them tales of creation. He spoke of the first beings. He explained the dance of elements. His voice was calm and resonant. His words were like ancient music. The Vanir listened, enthralled. Their own lore was rich. Yet, Mimir added new dimensions. He brought perspectives from Asgard. He expanded their understanding of the universe. He taught them about runes. He explained their sacred meanings. He showed them how to carve them. He spoke of their protective power. He shared this ancient script. He shared tales of Aesir heroes. He spoke of their bravery. He spoke of their sacrifices. He painted a picture of their world. It was a world of fierce determination. The Vanir, who valued peace, learned. They understood the Aesir better. They saw their courage and strength. They saw their unwavering resolve. Their prejudice began to fade. Mimir, in turn, learned from the Vanir. He learned their gentle ways. He saw their deep reverence for nature. He understood their pursuit of harmony. His own rigid views softened. He learned to appreciate art. He saw the beauty in their crafts. He listened to their melodic songs. He felt the peace of their realm. His heart opened to their culture. The exchange was not just knowledge. It was a merging of spirits. It was a blending of worlds. New friendships blossomed slowly. They were rooted in mutual respect. Aesir and Vanir children played. They chased each other through fields. They splashed in sunlit streams. Their laughter mingled freely. It was a sound of pure joy. They learned each other's games. They sang each other's songs. They shared stories of their homes. The old divides seemed to shrink. They became less significant. The older generations watched. They saw the innocence of youth. They saw the promise of the future. They saw the hope for lasting peace. Their hearts swelled with quiet pride. The leaders, Odin and Njord, met. They spoke of the progress made. They discussed the growing bonds. They saw the seeds of understanding. They saw them taking root. It was a slow, arduous process. There were still moments of doubt. There were still lingering suspicions, but the tide had turned. The current flowed towards unity. The air in both realms now hummed. It vibrated with new possibilities. It carried whispers of harmony. It brought the promise of a shared future. It was a future built on trust. The war of the Aesir and the Vanir. It was a memory distant now. It was a lesson learned. It was a reminder of conflict's cost. It was a testament to peace's power. The hostages, once symbols of strife, they were now architects of peace. They were the living bridges. They connected two disparate worlds. They forged new, unbreakable bonds. The sun set slowly over Asgard. Its golden light bathed the peaks. It cast long, gentle shadows. It illuminated the new paths. It shone on the burgeoning friendships. In Vanaheim, the moon rose. Its silver glow touched the forests. It illuminated the quiet rivers. It whispered of ancient wisdom. It promised a peaceful tomorrow. The stars emerged, one by one. They glittered like scattered diamonds. They watched over the realms. They witnessed the unfolding story. They saw the forging of new beginnings, the tale of their integration. It was a testament to resilience. It was a hymn to understanding. It was a beacon of hope. It was a promise for all time. The world slept, soft and still. It dreamt of unity. It dreamt of peace. It dreamt of shared futures. It dreamt of intertwined destinies. The sun dipped low. Its final rays painted the sky. They cast long shadows across the fields. A gentle breeze rustled through the tall grasses. It whispered secrets of the day. The air smelled of damp earth. It carried the scent of distant pine. Peace settled over the lands. It was a peace hard won. The great hall buzzed softly, not with the clamor of war, but with the murmur of many voices. These voices were softer now. They were filled with new understanding. Aesir and Vanir sat together. They shared food and drink. Laughter mingled with quiet conversation. It was a sound long absent. Freyja, radiant and calm, smiled. Her eyes, usually so bright, held a deeper light. She watched her brother Freya. He spoke animatedly with a warrior. The warrior was from Asgard. Their faces were relaxed. Gone was the tension. Gone was the suspicion. They were truly at ease. And Njörður, ever the pragmatist, nodded thoughtfully. He listened to Odin. Odin spoke of future plans. Plans for shared prosperity. Plans for mutual defense. The old animosities had faded. They had dissolved like morning mist. A new chapter was beginning. The hostages had been integrated. Mimir, wise and patient, had shared his knowledge. He spoke of the Vanir ways. He spoke of their deep connection. It was a connection to nature. Honir, strong and silent, had brought his own counsel. He offered insights from Asgard. He offered strategies for peace. Their presence had bridged a chasm. It was a chasm of misunderstanding. It was a chasm of fear. They had shown both sides. They showed their shared humanity. They showed their shared divinity. They were more alike than different. This truth had blossomed slowly. It had blossomed in their hearts. Now the time had come. The time for a formal end. A formal declaration of peace. The war, long and bitter, was over. It was truly, undeniably over. The leaders gathered. They stood in a wide circle. The evening light softened their faces. Odin stepped forward. His single eye gleamed. It gleamed with quiet triumph. He surveyed the assembly. He saw the faces of his people. He saw the faces of their former foes. A profound silence fell. It was a silence of anticipation. Sons and daughters of Asgard, he began. His voice was deep. It resonated with authority. And kin from Vanaheim, he paused. We stand here tonight. We stand at a crossroads. His gaze swept over them all. The path of war is behind us. He continued. It was a path of sorrow. It was a path of loss. A collective sigh rippled through the crowd. But from that sorrow, something new has grown. His voice softened. A seed of understanding. A blossom of respect. And Njörður stepped forward then. He stood beside Odin. His presence was calm. It was reassuring. For too long, he said, we have faced each other. We have faced each other with spears. We have faced each other with shields. His voice held a trace of weariness. But no more. The earth needs healing, Njörður declared. The realms need balance. He looked directly at Odin. Our peoples need unity. Odin met his gaze. There was mutual respect there. It was a respect forged in conflict. It was a respect deepened by peace. We recognize, Njörður affirmed, that our strengths are different, but they are complementary. He gestured to his people. He gestured to the Aesir. The wisdom of the earth, the power of the sky, they must intertwine. Freyja then spoke. Her voice was like a clear bell. It carried across the assembly. We have learned much, she said softly, about ourselves, about each other. Her eyes glowed with compassion. The exchange of gifts, the sharing of knowledge, it has opened our hearts. She continued, we have seen the courage of the Aesir. We have seen their steadfastness. She smiled gently. And you, perhaps, have seen our deep magic, our connection to life itself. A warmth spread through the gathering. Freya, young and earnest, added his voice. The future is brighter, he proclaimed. It is brighter when we walk together. He looked at the young warriors. He looked at the young farmers. Our children will know true peace. The formal speeches concluded. A hush descended once more. Then, a large wooden vat was brought forward. It was intricately carved. It was made of ancient oak. Its surface gleamed faintly. This was no ordinary vessel. This vat was a symbol. It was a vessel for transformation. It was a vessel for creation. It was filled with pure water. The water shimmered under the dim lights. The air grew still with anticipation. This was the sealing ritual. Odin approached the vat first. He looked into the clear water. His reflection stared back. He took a deep breath. He leaned over the rim. He spat into the water. It was a small sound, but it resonated powerfully. Then Njörður followed. He too leaned over. He too spat into the water. The ripples spread. They touched the sides of the vat. Freyja came next. Her contribution was graceful. Her spirit was serene. Freya added his own. One by one, the leaders approached. Each made their offering. Each added their essence. Their saliva mingled. It blended in the water. It was a humble act, yet it was profoundly significant. It was a merging of their very beings. The water began to change. It started to shimmer. It began to glow. A soft light emanated from the vat. The light grew steadily brighter. It pulsed gently. A warm energy filled the hall. Everyone watched, mesmerized. The water swirled. It began to coalesce. It transformed before their eyes. It was no longer just water. It was something more. It was something alive. A form began to take shape. It rose from the depths. It was a figure, a being of pure light. It was translucent, yet it was clearly defined. It was neither Aesir nor Vanir. It was something entirely new. It was formed from their combined essence. It was formed from their shared wisdom. The figure grew. It solidified. It became a man. He was tall and slender. His eyes were deep pools. They reflected ancient knowledge. His face was serene. It held a knowing smile. His skin glowed with inner light. This was Kvasir, the embodiment of their peace, the living symbol of their unity. He stepped from the vat. He stood before them. He was a testament to their truce. He was a testament to their cooperation. Kvasir looked at Odin. He looked at Njörður. He looked at all who were present. His voice was soft. It was like a gentle current, yet it filled the vast hall. "I am born of your peace," he said. "I am born of your understanding. My purpose," Kvasir continued, "is to hold your knowledge, to hold your shared wisdom." He gazed at the assembly. "I will remember your past. I will guide your future." His presence was calming. It was deeply reassuring. Odin nodded slowly. A profound sense of accomplishment filled him. This was more than a truce. This was a true merging. This was a new beginning. The war had ended. A wiser era had dawned. And Njörður smiled broadly. His face, often stern, softened. The creation of Kvasir was a miracle. It was a tangible sign. It was a sign of their lasting peace. The realms were united. They were united in wisdom. Kvasir walked among them. He touched hands. He offered blessings. His touch was gentle. It left a warmth behind. He spoke with the elders. He played with the children. His wisdom was boundless. His spirit was pure. The celebration continued late into the night. It was a night of joy. It was a night of relief. The drums beat a rhythm. It was a rhythm of peace. The flutes sang melodies. They were melodies of hope. Feasting tables groaned. They were laden with food. Mead flowed freely. Stories were shared, not stories of battles, but stories of shared experiences, stories of new friendships. The bonds grew stronger. Freyja sat beside Frigg. They conversed quietly. Their laughter tinkled. It was light and free. The goddesses, so different, found common ground. They found a shared vision, a vision of harmony. Freya and Thor engaged in a friendly contest. It was a contest of strength. It was a contest of skill. Their rivalry was gone. Only camaraderie remained. Their respect was evident. It was clear in their eyes. Kvasir observed it all. His eyes missed nothing. He was the living memory. He was the embodiment of their unity. He was the promise of a brighter future. He moved among them like a ghost, yet his presence was palpable. He offered advice when asked. His words were always gentle. They were always insightful. He answered questions. He resolved minor disputes. His wisdom was truly unparalleled. He was a gift to both peoples. The war had been a crucible. It had tested their limits. It had challenged their beliefs. But from its ashes, something beautiful had emerged. A deeper understanding, a lasting peace, a united purpose. The Aesir learned of the earth's rhythms. They learned of its sacredness. The Vanir learned of courage. They learned of steadfastness. They learned of the ingenuity of the Aesir. Their worlds expanded. The realms were no longer separate. They were intertwined. Asgard and Vanaheim. They were linked by Kvasir. They were linked by shared destiny. The complexities of life remained, but now they faced them together. The stars began to fade. The first light of dawn appeared. It painted the sky with soft hues. The celebration slowly wound down. People drifted off to sleep. They slept with peaceful hearts. Kvasir remained awake. He stood by the vat that had birthed him. He gazed out at the waking world, a world transformed, a world at peace. His presence was a beacon. It was a beacon of hope. The war was a distant memory. It was a lesson learned. The new era had truly begun. It was an era of cooperation. It was an era of balance. The Aesir and Vanir at last were one. They were one in purpose. They were one in spirit. The gentle hum of peace filled the air. It was a lullaby. It was a promise. It was the sound of a world restored. It was the sound of true harmony. Sleep now would come easily. It would come with peaceful dreams. If these whispers brought you rest, you're welcome to subscribe for more calm tales. A gentle, like also guides fellow night owls here.